The following is brought to you by Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology. TotalSeal.com. Hey everyone, Joe Castello back with you. Hidden Horsepower, presented by Total Seal, another episode. And before we get to our guests, I want to remind everybody, Apple Podcasts, write a review. Those reviews and recommendations and 5 stars going a long way to helping a lot of other people find this podcast, plus the TotalSeal.com brand new website. It's great stuff. We're on Spotify, we're on SoundCloud, and I just want to say thank you to all the people who are reaching out about the show. We've had some great episodes, but this one, it may top them all. Before we tell you about our guest, let's bring in the co-host of the show. He is the Director of Technical Sales at Total Seal, Mr. Keith Jones. Keith, how are you?
I'm doing great, Joe. I hope everybody out there is having a great day. It's 64 degrees here in Phoenix. The sun's shining. The hot weather is finally broken. I don't know what more we could ask for.
When you got going, Hartford says we're going to start doing some different kind of promotion stuff. Did you realize you were going to be pumping out these podcasts like, every couple of weeks we're getting you on? The co-hosting duties have really shot through the roof. Were you aware it was going to be like this?
I didn't even know what a podcast was at that point in time. I kept looking at that app on my phone going, what the heck does that do? We'll say, now I'm knee-deep into this thing and having a ball.
That's great. The feedback that I'm getting is tremendous. I know you're getting a lot as well. And it's going to be because of shows like this one we're about to have. Chris Holbrook, Holbrook Racing Engines, hardcore Ford guy, 3-time Indy winner, former Mountain Motor Pro Stock World Champion in the IHRA, and has dived into this whole Coyote dual overhead cam supercharged world like nobody else. It's been amazing. I can't wait to talk to this guy. What do you think of Chris?
I think he's a trendsetter, a pioneer. He has dove into this thing, as you just stated, like nobody else has done. It's been amazing working with Chris on this thing and seeing the horsepower level and the potential that is there to be unleashed in this beast. Chris and I go way back, again, back to the mountain motor days and talking skinny rings and big RPM, and now it's boost, and again, how much RPM can we turn and how much power can we make? I love it any chance I get to talk with and brainstorm on this thing.
What I find to be interesting, and I think a lot of people do, is that so much of racing is refining to find that little incremental hidden horsepower, if you will. But these platforms that he's working on, they still haven't been maxed out yet. And so he's finding big chunks and doing big things, and he'll bring a car out and it'll run whatever, and then he'll disappear for a little while and come back, and you'll see a major quantum leap forward. And that's why we're going to dive in with him right now. He joins us from Michigan, which he's claiming it's in the 70s. Nobody believes that. Mr. Chris Holbrook. Chris, welcome to Hidden Horsepower.
Well, thanks for having me on, and you guys are a couple of great guys, Joe and Keith, and believe it or not, it is 78 degrees here in Michigan today, and got the door open in the shop, and we're enjoying this nice weather.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You deserve it. Obviously, we know that's going away, maybe tomorrow, but you deserve it while you've got it. So, Chris, let's talk a little bit about your the transformation. Talk about being an innovator. You were a Mountain Motor Pro Stock guy. Then you really kind of got heavy involved with the Ford program and the Samtech Factory Stock Showdown. You put some ETs up that, frankly, incredible to see a factory car do that. But everybody likes to know, how'd you get started? And I know, with just like many others, your dad played a huge role.
Yeah, of course. I remember being a kid, and my dad had his own shop. And, I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but I remember walking out in the parking lot, and here's this school bus, and it said, Loretta Lynn Country Shindig, Ricky Smith. And, back in the day, my dad did some 351 Cleveland work on Ricky's block and stuff like that. And I just remember that bus, and the car sitting on the back of it, and it's just a great memory, And my dad always raced stock and super stock with his Cobra Jet Mustang, and it was great memories,
Amazing stuff. Now, the connection to Ford, being in Michigan, dad being a racer, engine builder, was there any connection with Ford, like working at, or someone in the family, or some sort of direct connection? I shouldn't use that because it's a Mopar term, but some sort of direct connection to the Blue Oval, or were you guys just passionate Ford guys from jump?
My dad was just a passionate Ford guy right from the jump, and then he started working on the FE engines, and he was really successful in doing the 428s and the 427s, and he was actually in 1975 Hot Rod magazine, and they did a big full article on him, and they named him Captain Cobra Jet at that time, and I think he just loved the Ford FE engine, and that's just what got it started, and he was always a Ford guy, and Ford's in my blood, so it just continues on.
The brand loyalty that has built drag racing and motorsport to what it is right now, that people love, frankly, win on Sunday, sell on Monday. We think about that. Like, you guys are part of that, and I love it. But we've seen the factories come, we've seen them go away, we've seen them come back, and right now we're kind of in one of those phases where the factories are back, and you've been big into it with your factory stock showdown cars that you run in the NHRA and NMCA. Tell the audience a little bit about that program, because you have to use factory parts, and so level up the challenge to make sure things live and survive, and to get one of those cars to go 750s, it's just insanity. We all want to know how you did it.
Well, a lot of trial and error, but I tell you what, Ford's did a tremendous job on designing this engine. We still use, factory lifters and rocker arms, and we buzz these things to 10.5, 10.6, RPM, and a lot of it is in, the camshaft design and good ring seal. Total Seal has the gapless, or I'm not the gapless, but the gas ported slots in the rings, and man, that really helped the ring seal, because we're not allowed in stock rules to gas port the pistons. So they come out with these rings, and man, it was just a game changer.
Keith, jump in here on that note. We're talking about the gas-ported rings all the time. Here's an example right off the bat of how it was helpful because of the rules. You're not allowed to do certain things. Guess what? We figured another way.
That's really the thing, and that really is where the whole gas-ported ring started. It was in the stock class. That's really the original focus for that part. Was how do we I want to say beat the rules, but how do we work in the rules but yet get the ring seal that these monstrous engines making big horsepower numbers. This is what it's going to take to seal it up, and those are the challenges that we face, and that's just one of the challenges, coming up with, materials that are going to hold up with the heat that these guys are generating, the amount of power, the RPM they're turning, and, pushing that to the next level. And we're just, that's just us working on the ring side of it for these engines and working with Chris. I can only imagine all the other things that he's had to face as a challenge to work within that set of rules and come up making the tremendous power levels that they're making. It's got to be daunting.
Well, I mean, it's very challenging, because, I came from a world of, iTray Mountain Motor Pro Stock. It was, the biggest, like 820 cubic inch, inch 200 lift camshafts, 70 millimeter camcord. And, I mean, it just big, massive push rods. And, so, stepping back and then like, okay, well, wait a minute, we don't have push rods. You got to kind of think backwards, and it's like now you got, your intake cam and your exhaust cam, you can play with the timing, with two intake cams and two exhaust cams, you can play with your cam timing, just with, moving a gear, and you don't need all that spring pressure to handle that push rod, and everything is just, it's just state of the art, and back then, I think we were making like I want to say like maybe 1,500 horsepower with the 800-inch motor, and there's with just a few tweaks on our factory stock engine and some little extra stuff. I mean, we've made close to 1,900 horsepower out of a 327.
Wow. Yeah, I'm gasping for air over here. That's absolutely amazing. And then I have to ask the question, Chris. I mean, is that with the factory block on that piece?
No, we run it's a block made by Bear Motors. It's a aftermarket cast aluminum block, and that's the only really, between that and the crankshaft and the rods and the pistons. That's the aftermarket parts. But the cylinder heads are factory. The lifters and the rock arms, the adjusters that we use, the followers is all factory. But the block is made by Bear Motors.
Well, I'm going to touch on something real quick, since we're kind of talking about blocks, and this may be interesting to a lot of the listeners with the new, and I know you've messed with some of these, so I'm just kind of after your take on what you do, or in some cases, don't do. I get asked a lot of the time with the, with the new, coated, factory coated blocks, with the, with that, we'll say, the arc plasma moly coating in there. Are you guys honing those, or you just leave them alone? Because I definitely, hear both sides of that story, and I just wanted to kind of get your opinion on that. Some of the listeners may find that interesting.
No, we actually hone those. I mean, you can only hone it so much because it's only so thick, but we do hone them. Even started out with like the old 5.4 blocks, the ones that were coated. We honed them, and we learned, I think we could only hone them like 5 to 7 thou before the coating got too thin. But no, it actually honed quite well. And we used abrasive stone back before we had our new home, but now we're doing it with diamond stones, and we've done it with both the stone combination, and it actually had great success with it.
Outstanding. Are you putting a real glass smooth finish on it, Chris, or how would you grade that finish? Kind of similar to stock, or finer, or rougher? Just like, I'm not after specifics, but just kind of ballpark.
No, it's a smooth finish.
Excellent. That's kind of what I figured. Like I say, you hear both sides of it. You hear guys, you can't hone it, and you hear the guys, you can hone it. And I just wanted to throw that out since we had an expert on the line right now, just to get your input on that. And thank you.
Well, we had some of the best blow by, like non-blow by on the dyno with that. I mean, it was kind of really worked well, and it's like, wow. And then we started looking at, maybe we can find the person that's doing this for the factory, and it just, there was a guy, and then, it kind of went out south, so then we just went back to the sleeve,
Yeah. I think there's, like I say, I don't know exactly who did it from the factory. I think it was originated by Flame Strike Technologies. I'm not 100% sure of that. I do know that there's we'll say a European version of that. It's called Sumibore, Sumebore. And they do a very, very similar process, and they've got a location in New York. If I remember correctly, it's in New York State, so that might be something yourself or others could look at doing. I'm pretty sure they have a location there still.
I believe you're right.
Very interesting stuff. I do want to touch on, we're building to your new project. We're building to that. But I want to keep going on the whole, dual overhead cam aspect of it. Anyone who's followed, supercars for years and a lot of the Euro stuff, dual overhead cams and that sound, it's just, it kind of was a foreign thing for a while. Years ago, V8, pushrod, V8, yeah, America. But now you guys have kind of gotten a hold of it and realized all the potential and putting your larger cubic inch American horsepower torque mentality into it. And I referenced at the start, you're finding large jumps, large amounts of horsepower. You'll bring it out to a race, it'll run a number, you'll go away for a couple months, come back, and you'll run a tenth and a half quicker. And it's pretty amazing. How far into the whole Coyote development project would you say we are? 1 being brand new and 10 being where we are with a 500 cubic inch Pro Stock engine, where they are hunting for 1 horsepower?
I'd say we're probably about a 7. Like I said, with the stock eliminator rules, there's only so much you can do. And that's why I'm looking so forward to this new venture that we're doing. And, I just can't wait to see where we end up. It's going to be a big learning curve, but I can't wait. And, should be very interesting.
So let's talk a little bit about it. Anybody that follows you on the social media has noticed that you're taking delivery of, billet parts, right? And it's like, what's he going to do with that? Right? Billet, Coyote block. What are you going to do with that? And so I know that you want the element of surprise for the world, but what can you reveal about your latest project? And I've heard some quotes thrown around out there in the neighborhood, to paraphrase, like, we're going to find out the true potential of this platform.
Yeah, well, Dustin Whipple, Whipple Superchargers, and I, we started talking, and I told him, I said, man, it'd be great to see what we can do with this Coyote platform and Whipple supercharger technology. And he's working on some new cutting edge projects, and it's going to kind of come together here, and we're going to try putting in a pro mod chassis and run some 8th mile pro mod over an NMCA and see what we can do, and it's going to be very interesting. Like I said, a whole new learning curve for me, because it's just running methanol, and this is going to be, we're going to start out with 375 cubic inch, which is kind of a big engine for a Coyote, and Whipple's working on some supercharger stuff, and just this week we're going to take one of our factory stock engines that we just kind of fine-tuned a little bit, and we're going to try one of the Whipple new 3.8 superchargers on there, and we're going to do some dyno testing and have some videos and share on Facebook and social media, and hopefully we can get up to the 2,000 mark with just a 327 engine.
But what kind of, just with that said, I mean, the first thought I'm over here Googling as Chris is saying this, the McGee quad cam, top fuel motor from back in the day, and it's like, give Chris an inch, let's give him a mile. It's like, how far can you take that platform? With the billet block you've got now, Chris, what do you think the cubic inch potential is?
Well, we still got the bore spacing to deal with. I think the max bore on this block is, it's a MMR billet block, and I think the max bore is 3740. We're starting out at 3725. We're starting out with a bigger stroke than what I'm used to on a Coyote. We're going to run like a 4,300, and it gives us 375. But MMR claims that they've done as much as 400 cubic inch. But we're going to start out with like a 375 and just see what we can do. Very cool. That should be, like you say, going to be insane. I really look forward to what you guys are going to do with this thing. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's like I'm starting to order pieces, and they're coming in, and we're going with like a Liberty 5-speed with a quick drive and a Neil Chance lockup converter. So it's going to be very interesting.
What I love about it is that it's uncharted territory, which that's where the fun is, right? You're genuinely innovating something. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how it's going to perform. You're trying something new because maybe you're going to uncover the next combination that everybody's going to want, and they're going to be calling up Holbrook Racing Engines to buy this thing to be competitive. That's exciting to me.
Yeah, and that's the plan, and it's going to be nice for a change to work on something and try to get the most out of it, and I hate saying this, but to get your hands slapped for making too much power. You know what I'm saying?
Well, certainly, unlimited stock eliminator rules. They're on you and all these different angles, and running with the other manufacturers that are running pushrod V8s was a challenge in the NHRA, and we've certainly spoken and covered that. Here's an opportunity, and you said it, to truly unleash the potential. And the idea that you're going to try to run against Pro Mod cars in NMCA, everything I know about Pro Mod cars, we kind of have a pretty good idea of how much power they make, how quick and fast they go, and they got a lot more cubic inches than you're going to have. That means you have identified a lot of potential yet to go.
Oh yeah, and it's definitely going to be a knife to a gunfight, starting out. But I'm hoping that we can, put our nose to the grindstone and work on this combo and compete with the rest of the competitors. What's the timeline?
Obviously, we're getting ready for the winter. You're not going to be able to go outside. This 70-degree day that you're enjoying right now is short time. But what is the timeline? Is this you'll be out next season with this?
Well, that's the plan. There's 18 weeks until the first race, and I'm counting every day, and and stressing out. But we're going to try to make the first race and see. Thank God that we found a car. It's a brand new Mustang at Racing Specialties over here in Michigan, and it's a brand new car, and it's going to be very interesting.
Well, the question I had was, who's going to get to drive this new car, Chris?
Well, me. And,
that's kind of what I figured.
and now, over when we're running factory stock, we're almost 3,600 pounds. So, weight isn't really a factor because, we're adding a lot of weight. Now, we can weigh less. So, guess who's going on a diet?
Oh, right before the holidays? No way. That's terrible.
Well, we might have to go off the diet just for that day, but
wow.
He'll go low carb the day after. So it's
that's right.
Yeah.
Now, dumb question for you, Chris. I don't mean to interrupt, Joe. We look at the big block Ford and the development that John Kazi's done there, and his heads, his block, that kind of thing. Do you see that in your future for the Coyote? I mean, who's to say the bore spacing has to stay the same? Who's to say, thinking down the road, and I'm just, just thinking out loud here. Do you see that potentially being a 500 cubic inch version of this thing? What do you think?
Oh yeah. I lay in bed at night just dreaming of that. It's like, man, if we could just basically design our own Coyote-based, overhead cam engine with bigger bore space, and like you say, a 500 cubic inch with overhead cam technology. Oh my gosh, it'd be crazy.
That's exciting to a lot of people out there. I think a lot of people are going to stay up at night, and it's a demand thing. Like once you talk about it, then maybe people want it, and I think this project that you're working on is going to get us there. And I know that's why you're doing it, to be that innovator. Why do you do that, Chris? Like, what about that aspect of engine building? Not everybody chooses to innovate. They want to be the best in something that already exists or is a path that has already been well worn in. Why do you want to challenge yourself in this way?
I'm a glutton for punishment. No, I love new things, and, back in the day, when my dad was still alive, I remember when the modular engine was just coming out, and he says, those things are junk. I'll never work on those things, and then look at me today. We're deep into it, and I love technology, and I just thrive on making things better and going fast with like newer parts, and this style of engine it works so well. When I first push a stick on the dyno, and on one of these engines, and looking at the needle, at the power numbers, I'm like, holy crap! It's you don't believe it until you start working on them, and it's a very incredible piece of art.
Yeah. Question I was going to throw at you, Chris, on that thing. Having worked on all the the shootout stuff that you guys do, but you and I work on other projects. You guys, that's not the only thing you guys do. You work on everything. But for the guys out there that are just working on the Coyote itself, not a shootout motor, street performance, is there anything you see as like a common thing? Hey, guys are doing this wrong all the time, or I always see, they need to torque plate it better, or they need, what's the thing when the engines come into your shop? Is there anything that you see as kind of a common mistake that's being made? Well,
you'd be surprised. A lot of guys, with the Coyote block, they're not torque plating them, and it just, you definitely have to use a torque plate like any other, block out there. And, a lot of things where I see going wrong is people overthink it. They figure man, we got to add a lot more spring pressure to this because we're going to be putting bigger cams in it, and we're going to be revving it higher, and it just the valve train on these engines are so well built that you don't need a ton of spring pressure, because you constantly see guys breaking chains and it just, man, like I said, we knock on wood, we very seldom have a chain problem, and like I said, we rev our engines to 10,600 RPM, and it just, we don't have a chain problem, but it's just, you don't overthink it.
That's awesome. Thanks for bringing that. I appreciate that. That was something I didn't know, and now I will say I do.
And that's why people listen to Hidden Horsepower and are rushing to Apple Podcasts to write a review of this episode, Spotify, SoundCloud. We appreciate all you subscribers out there. Now, Chris, this new project, Billet, Whipple, you've set it out there. You got a goal. Where does a company like Total Seal come in when you're not dealing with stock eliminator style rules? Like, how do you put the pressure on Keith Jones?
Oh, I send him, he probably hates my text, but I send him texts, all the time. Hey, I need rings like this, can you do it, and he never tells me no. He's like, we can do that, and we'll get it done, and we'll get them to you, and I tell you what, Total Seal is a great company to deal with, and they're always innovating in the ring seal and cylinder seal, and it just, I don't know, it's great to work with Keith, that's for sure.
And right back at you, Chris. I mean, it's guys like Chris that, that help us or push us to do a better job, to make a better product. I've said this before. I've never in all the years I've been doing this had somebody come at me and ask me for less. I want less ring seal, or I want more drag, or I want, it's never asking us for less. It's always, can we do, a ring that's 30,000 thick that's going to handle 3,000 horsepower. We're always being challenged, and it's guys like Chris that challenge us. And we'll just say, and I'll say thank you for challenging us, because it makes us make a better part.
Oh, we appreciate it very much. It's nice dealing with a company that will bend over backwards for you and get you what you need.
There you go. And at the end of each episode, I always ask engine builders and machinists advice for the next generation. Just a heads up, I am going to ask you that question because you've done so well. You're winning Indy 3 times, IHRA Mountain Motor Pro Stock. You're a driver, you're an engine builder, you're kind of that old school character that does it all, and people really enjoy seeing that. But we're in a real weird time in that there's a transitional period from the old guard to this new generation that's coming on, and they need to know the right way to do things. And you can get down that wrong path. You can certainly learn from the mistakes that other people have made as opposed to making them yourselves. Then again, there are people who like to make mistakes themselves. I guess that's the best way to learn. But before I ask you that, I do want to know your general opinion of where we are right now in terms of engine building, machining, the product, racing. Like, we're coming in off a tough hit this past year with the pandemic that Keith brings up, and we talk about on a fair amount of time here. Everybody's doing it, but racers seem to want to race, and they want to get back out there and normalize. So what are you guys seeing business-wise on the ground out there with your customers and the demand to go fast?
Well, it's crazy. I in the beginning of all, especially this year, I thought, we were going to suffer, and man, we have been so busy this year, and everybody I talk to and manufacturers I need to order parts from and everything is they tell me the same thing. It's like it's crazy. It's just everybody wants to go racing, and I think it's going to continue on. I've been getting many phone calls, people already looking for next year what they're doing. We're still got a lot of factory stock customers that we're going to do engines for, and we're going to be there helping them. And I'm not giving up on that program. It just, I want our customers to go back out to NHRA and win a championship. And by God, we're going to do it again.
Kevin Skinner looking pretty good as he gets more laps with the new rules, and it seems that he's gotten to where, back where he's even, at least it seems like. And so, yeah, more laps, figure things out, and advance the ball. Keith, final question for Chris before I hit him with my advice question.
So as far as, and you caught me off guard with that one, by the way. So as far as future development on the Coyote, where you're obviously all the billet parts. Where do you see the next big thing in that engine platform? Is it going to be in cylinder head, displacement, blower, all of the above? Where do you see the next big? Like you said, you're on a 7 heading for a 10. Where do you see that? What do you see as the next big challenge?
Well, Whipple's, like I said, is working on some, new supercharger technology, and there is so much there. And he tells me, every night we talk, and he tells me, man, we're working on this, and we found this, and it's just I'm like putting numbers in my head, going, oh wow, that's okay. This gain, that's this much gain, and I know MMR's working on a billet Coyote cylinder head, and I think that's going to be a game changer. I think it's just going to be. I don't know. I'm hoping. I got big plans and big hopes. So hopefully it all works out.
That's outstanding. I just want to throw this out. And Chris he'll curse me for saying this, but when the Coyote platform first came out, and he and I were just talking about these cars and the horsepower potential, and let's say after his run in Florida, and we saw the numbers that the car had there, he told me flat out, he goes, give me enough time, I'll put one of these things in the 6s. And I truly think that Chris could have been the man to do that.
I appreciate that, and I think for sure we can do that, and time will see.
We shall see. Let me reverse the roles, Chris, since you've got an opportunity at Keith here in front of the whole world on the Total Seal podcast. You got any questions for Keith that you want to throw out there, given that he's usually on the ask the question side of it, but there's so much that goes into ring seal and making this power, and we've learned so much on the podcast. Maybe you've got something you want to ask him.
Seeing that I'm always kind of calling him and saying, hey, I'd like to have this, you got anything new that you guys are designing that I might be interested in?
Well, one of the things I've been playing with, Chris, is obviously you've already been working with the gas-ported top ring, and one of the things, and you're kind of solving that now with the block issue, but one of the things that we always fight is not that aluminum block, but aluminum blocks in general, just bore distortion, how they move around. It's real hard to keep an aluminum block straight and around, especially under the power levels and boost levels you guys are dealing with. So we're looking at kind of combining technologies, working with our total conform ring. That's the one that had the inside radial slots, lets the ring kind of bend and follow bore distortion better, and gas porting it. So kind of a gas ported total conform. I think it helped take ring seal to the next level in these, give it that flexibility to follow the block as it moves around, and the gas port to get the gas pressure behind it. So we definitely have, we'll say something for you to test, as you develop this new engine.
Very nice. I'm glad to hear it. Like I said, you guys don't quit. You're always working on newer and better ring seal.
See, how about that? Look at that. Turn the table on you, Keith. We weren't expecting that. I just came up with that.
Well, like Chris, I mean, it's weird. He's thinking of the whole package. He's got to think about, chassis setups and converters and transmission and exhaust, the whole package. I'm thinking about piston rings, and you'd be amazed at what some of the crazy, stupid, whatever you want to call it, ideas that pop into my head at 2 o'clock in the morning.
I bet.
Well, exactly. And I think maybe we just came up with a new thing on the show for all future guests. Way to go, Chris Holbrook, on that. All right. So I like to think that if I was an aspiring engine builder, a young person that was going to go down the road of becoming a machinist that loved racing cars, hands-on mechanical type things, that I would be seeking out podcasts like Hidden Horsepower. I really believe that, because that's where so much information and knowledge is gained now digitally on the mobile device. Like, what can I listen to while I'm driving over the road or doing my job that I don't really like right now? And I like to think about that person, and I ask each one of our guests, like, hey, advice for that guy to get from where they are to get to where you are, where you show up to work every day and deal with the stresses of life, of course, but love what you're doing and are passionate and are successful. And not everybody can be that way. So if you have advice, we'd love to hear it.
Well, my advice is, definitely listen to this podcast because I'm liking what I'm hearing, and it seems like everybody's, I don't know, nobody has common sense anymore. So what I'm saying is just follow your common sense and listen to the people that's done things in life, especially in racing engines and building engines. And, yes, you can have your own ideas, but you have to, walk before you run and just kind of pay attention and learn from, the guys that have done it in the past and then grow from there.
Excellent. Keith, this was great. Chris, excellent job. We really appreciate you, all you've done with the factory stock showdown cars, but frankly, when you posted that picture of the billet block, we got our engines sparking in our minds, and we wanted to speak with you here on Hidden Horsepower. That did a great job, and this is almost like a breaking news episode, if you will, that we know you're working on a new project.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, and look for some new videos and some new pictures on Facebook, and I'll keep you guys posted.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I really appreciate you coming on the show. Again, the listeners are going to love this, and I really appreciate you. We'll say kind of lifting the curtain up and telling everybody what you're doing. I don't know if we're the first to know that, but I think we're on the front end of it. And again, really want to thank you and appreciate everything you do for us.
Okay, thank you.
And there he goes, Chris Holbrook, Holbrook Racing Engines. Keith, that was fantastic.
Yeah, I not to say that I knew that it would be, but I knew that it would be. Chris is such a great guy, so open, not afraid to tell you what he's doing. He's just a real class act.
Yes, well, and that's what we want. And as this show evolves, the idea that we're talking to guys right on the back end of a project like with Kenny Duttweiler, or on the front end of a project like Chris, where he's trying to do things that haven't been done before and seeing where it goes. And that's a big part of this, the idea of the exploration and finding what's available. I can't help but think about, the dual overhead cam setup versus the traditional pushrod V8 and all the stuff we've talked about in Factory Stock Showdown this year. Like, can they even compete against each other based against what he's talking about? Almost limitless potential.
Yeah, it's an amazing platform. Kind of to go with what Chris said, what his dad said about the early engine, the original mod. I think a lot of us are kind of scratching our chin looking at that thing originally. But when the Coyote came out, that's a game changer. That was we'll just say a significant upgrade. Thank you, Ford.
Thank you, Ford. Exactly. And, the rumor mill says that maybe the other manufacturers have got something coming in the pipeline now that they've seen what can happen. He also very complimentary towards you guys and what you're capable of. For our listeners out there who are interested in figuring out what will work best for them, lay it out.
Oh, absolutely. Chris is, again, we're constantly striving to do new, do better, push the next innovation. Like I was talking about, the gapless, total conform combination. It's guys like Chris that, let us get those ideas out there, put them in something, test them, race them, get them back in, get a look at them, see how everything looks. I mean, we can only do so much testing and development work. We don't have all those different kinds of engine platforms, and it's guys like Chris that'll let us, take that idea, turn it into reality, throw it out in the field, and if it works, great. Hey, if it doesn't, we go back and try again. And he's one of those people that lets us do that.
Amazing stuff. Keith, great job as usual. I was really thrilled for this one. We're on a run. We've had some really great guests over the past couple of weeks. I'm getting so much positive feedback about the podcast. I know everybody is sharing it amongst their friends and doing their best to get the word out about Hidden Horsepower. It's right there on Total Seal's website, totalseal.com. Got a brand new website. Great stuff. I want to thank you, my friend.
No, thank you.
He's Keith Jones, Director of Technical Sales at Total Seal. I'm Joe Castello. Keith, thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, listening. As Joe said, check us out, totalseal.com. If you have any questions, drop us an email, give us a call. We're here to answer your questions directly. We want to know what you're doing, what you're working on, and make sure you get the best rings for it.
There you have it. Remember, more episodes of Hidden Horsepower by Total Seal, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, the TotalSeal.com website. My name is Joe Castello. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at WFO Joe. WFO Radio is my other podcast where we talk NHRA drag racing and all kinds of fun stuff. Check that out as well. And we'll see you next time on the next edition of Hidden Horsepower by Total Seal.